Having installed the Codebox package, you now have a module installed as well as a plugin and a component. So going to Extension Plugin Manager, you would see there's the plugin content Codebox. Let's open that. It is by default already set up, so that you actually don't need to go there, but I would like to just quickly show you it anyway. So let's open it up. So by default, the call identifier is Codebox. You could change this to anything of your liking. This is used in the placement of the script within the content itself. As you can see there when hovering over this call identifying label, there's a little description of what it does. So you can come and change that here. We don't need to change that for now. We'll just leave it as is. So we click close. Then going to Module Manager, you'd see that there's a Codebox module. This has been installed to load the scripts within a module position. We would look at that again a little later to show you how that works. And then, of course, last but not least, Codebox Manager under the Components menu. You'd see that we have, with the installation, loaded two default function names, function calls actually, and the plugin is what's used to generate this little script here. This is the script that we will use in the content to call upon these functions. Now let's open, well, I think before we open one, let me go ahead and act like there's nothing and just create a new one to sort of illustrate some of the functionality briefly. So we click New. Now we are basically in the area where you can set up a script. There's place for HTML, there's place for PHP, and you could just always read the description above the box, sort of illustrative of what can be done. And then there's place for JavaScript and CSS. And if you've activated the first block that with which you could target more than one group, you could set it to target whichever groups you would like to target. You could actually go ahead and activate another block and target another set of users from other groups. It's not wise to target the same groups because then it basically ends up rendering both to the same user. If this be the case, then you'd need to go at advanced and see what you'll use to do a content separator, new line, div, or bootstrap, or just a normal empty div. So to separate then the execution of this block from the following block down here. You could add HTML in this square here. You could obviously resize this, and PHP in this block here. Now we're not going to do any PHP classes right now. If you don't know PHP, there's many places you could go and study online. The recommended place I would recommend is lynda.com. They have excellent courses on PHP which you could go and look at. So I'm going to close out of here. I'm not going to create a function now. I've already got some defaults there, so we just close this. And then we'll open one of these default functions that we've got here as part of the installation. This function is called add name. So what we will basically do with this function is we'll add the name of the logged in user to the content where we add the script, the calling, the function call script. So we haven't targeted a specific group yet, so we'll select just normal registered group. We're not going to do a redirect. You can actually say yes, a redirecting, and then put a URL here to do a redirect with this script. We're not going to do that. We're just going to do an execution of the PHP scripting here. So we're doing a normal JFactory get user and adding this to the user, and then checking if the user is logged in by the existing, if there's an ID. If there isn't a logged in user, the return will be 0, so it will not render true. And if it does therefore render true, we're basically going to print put, you see here, the HTML variable is what holds this text area. So whatever you put in here is saved in the HTML string. And you can, if you haven't put anything here, you could put stuff into the HTML string down here in your PHP. And so that's what we'll be doing. We're simply going to place a string name and in bold the username into the HTML string. This is just a simple function. Obviously, you can see if you know PHP that this feature gives us an immense leverage within the Joomla application to grab data from a database, render a table, I mean anything. Basically like an easy way to create a little custom component on the front end of your website with this little application. Okay, so we don't need to do much. We've just selected a group and we click save and close so that it saves this setting we've changed. We're going to do the same for the email. We didn't set up the groups because each website group IDs could be different, so you need to just every time just come and change this. You could obviously, this is just an example. Change it to registered. We don't need to make changes here. Everything is fine. We don't need to have the content being prepared because it is rendering in a normal content page. But if you were to run this within the module, you might need to enable that. Okay, so next we say then save and close. And we got our two function calls ready. Those are the two code snippets that we would use in our content. So let's go to content article manager. We have an article called get started. We'll put it in this article. To make sure that the editor doesn't behave strangely, we'll change this to source, to code view. And then in the code view, scroll to the top, we place those scripts in here. So having Codebox open in another tab, we grab this one, Control C on a PC to copy the script. Then in our article source code, we paste that little tag there. So basically, it's open curly braces, Codebox, add name, and closing the curly braces. We do the same for the email. We'll just put a normal HTML break tag between those so that they are not on the same line. And we will do another one there. So we have Codebox again, add email as the function call, and with the break again at the end. And we say OK. So it adds it to the article, and we say save and close. Now for us, just as a quick check, just going to open this one function again to explain exactly what we're doing in the PHP. If the ID does not exist, we basically don't do anything. So that means we do not put anything in the HTML script tag. And therefore nothing should render to those who are not logged in. But as soon as you're logged in any case, it's targeting the registered group. So even if if we were echoing something here without checking for the ID, it wouldn't render because we are targeting the registered group, and public people obviously visiting your site are not registered. But I just wanted to quickly again explain what's happening here. So let's now go to the front end and see how it works. Okay, we're not logged in here, so we just as the public, and we see that there is no change to the content as it were. But if we log in, we see that it now renders the name of the user as well as the email address, and it's exactly as we expected. So that is how you would add custom PHP scripting to your articles through the plugin, which renders via that little script that we've added to the article itself. Now doing the same with a module, we'd go back to Module Manager and then open the Codebox module. Having opened it, you'd see that there is a select function drop down here. We will use name. Now in the case of this, we're seeing that we could only select one function within a module. We could go and tweak our little function call to render the email as well as the name of the user within one function, of course. So I'll quickly go and make that little change. So that's simply adding this little script here to the add name function, and then click save and close. And in our module, we simply select the add name function. We select a position and we publish it, and we can hide the title and change the menu assignment to the home page and click save. Okay, we see it's loading on the front, but I forgot to put a break tag in there. Let's quickly add that. Just add a BR tag here so it looks better aesthetically. Refresh, and there we go. So we got the username and the user email in a little module box, and of course, because I've changed this function, it loads it twice. And that is a quick demonstration of Codebox. I've already been using this for quite a long time in websites that I've been building for clients, and building little front components, as well as integration with other applications through this little Codebox. I hope you enjoy it too.